So here we are with the Covenanter. This is something I hadn't really played to this point. I am the worst of whales and tend to skip grinds by throwing money at the game. So, of course, in doing so, I tend to miss out on a lot of absolute gems of tanks that I just don't play, and eventually I come back and rediscover them. Examples including the M8A1, the T49, and now this, the Covenanter, the Tier 4 British light tank that comes before the Crusader. Now, I have actually had it for a very long time because it was used a couple times in low-tier clan wars way back in the day. I think during the first campaign, actually. But I just don't really play it much. And needing to get some light tank missions done, and not wanting to actually play high-tier matches in my light tanks, I figured, I'll take the Covenanter out for a spin and see what it's made of. Well, I sure found out what it was made of. This gun is murder on low-tier tanks, particularly unarmoured tank destroyers with not a lot of hit points like, say, I don't know, Su-76s and Su-85Bs. And considering those things are the terror of Tier 4, and this thing eats them for breakfast, what does that make the Covenanter? You have 4 shots, rapid fire. The gun is basically a 40mm Bofors gun, stuck inside a tank turret. Now, because it is technically an autocannon, much like the French 25mm in the Hotchkiss, it does have a limited range. I think it's slightly more than the machine guns and 20mm autocannons that some of the other low-tier tanks have, but I'm not sure, so don't quote me on that. It is actually kinda accurate though, although it does have bloom issues, so you can make some pretty decent mid-range shots with it. More importantly though, it fires a lot quicker than most people realise, and so you can just roll up on somebody and drop 4 shots into them before they have a chance to respond. Or, if you miss them, you can use the front bumper. And there goes an ammo rack, which is not something you see very often at low tiers. Speaking of using the front bumper, this tank is actually pretty nimble. Much like the other British tanks, it has good handling on pretty much any kind of terrain, accelerates well, turns well, and like the other low-tier British tanks, it's pretty decent in terms of speed. Might not be the fastest, but thanks to its good soft stats, it kinda just gets places before everyone else does. I decide not to go for shots on the bridge targets, they're out of my range anyway, and instead, I finish off the T-80. The Covenanter, I think, actually does see some popular use in tier-restricted competitive play. Like I said, I think it was used in the first campaign quite heavily by NDP, probably a few of the other clans too. But this gun just makes it ideal for it. Some of the other cruisers at low tier are also used competitively, as you've no doubt seen. Managed to get the Covenanter from across the bridge. The Lee crosses into my range just here, and I finish him off. It helps to know how far that range limit is exactly. And with all the threats to the south and east dealt with, I begin to shift my attention to the 3 remaining tank destroyers, all of whom were last seen towards the centre of the map. Or rather, the 2 of whom who were spotted. The Su-85B has never been lit. Of course, it's a fucking Su-85B. By this stage I'm already up to 6 kills, 927 damage. That would be a very respectable game for any tier 4 tank, as it is. I'm not done though. After a quick check of that ridgeline, just to make sure they aren't lurking on the edge of it, I carefully use the low ground to the right that this path runs along to sneak around, preferably without getting seen, and see if I can get a little closer to them. Once I get close, they're at my mercy rather than the other way around. In fact, because my teammates have piled on the cap, it looks like they're running a lemming train down to defend their base. While the 85B hopelessly tries to keep up with me, and instead misses with his snapshot, I finish off the M8A1 the only way that I know how, and then get the 85B. with my gun. Now the Hetz is still a hard target for this thing. But with gold and a little careful aim, I'm able to get one shot in from long range. And then I just continue pouring in shots from a distance. Since I'm moderately sure this guy can't actually see me. He knows I'm here, but I don't think he can actually see my tank. The Hetzer has a notoriously short view range, only 280 meters. And that's it. That's the Covenanter. This thing is just dreamy in a tier 4 match. In tier 6 match, yeah, you're going to have trouble. A lot of tier 6s can 1 or 2 shot you, and your gun may not be as effective against them, but at tier 4, oh man, at tier 4, this thing just shreds people. 9 kills, 1348 damage in a tier 4 match. Well, more than that actually, is more like 1400 because of the kill on the Lee. I can't complain. I really can't complain about this thing. It's just such a wonderful light tank, and it's so good on an open map like this. A little bit of city terrain, a little bit of open ground, a few bushes here and there, some hills. Again, this thing being British, great gun depression. It really gives you a lot of options, and it's just good fun to play. This was a good, relaxing match, and it was over before I realized it. Unfortunately, I was ultimately the victim of my own success, because my mission for this match was to track or spot 2 enemy tanks and assist my team in destroying them that way. So I was meant to track things and let my teammates damage them. Obviously that didn't happen, and I ended up pretty much killing everything myself. But given the choice between completing that mission and having this match, I'll take this match every time. It was good fun. I hope you enjoyed watching it. I've got another Covenanter game coming up next, which is not quite so smooth, I guess. It's more me just driving around with my eyes the size of dinner plates, wondering what the fuck is wrong with West Coast pubbies. So look out for that one. It's a Lakeville match, and to give you a brief taste of what exactly happened, put it this way: I killed a T1 heavy from full health in his own spawn. Yep, NA West, people. Anyway, I wish you the best of luck in the field, and I'll see you on the next one. Oh, bye, Covenanter.